Well, it's time now for Focus and the final report in our Forbidden Love series. In collaboration with our colleagues at RFI and Arte, we're bringing you the stories of modern-day Romeo and Juliets, whose relationships are faced with major obstacles, be they religious, racial, political or social. And we end our series in the US. Ashlyn is white and Ra'Montae is black, a so-called interracial couple. But where they live in Kansas, that fact makes them targets of insults, racial slurs and even death threats. Here's their story told in their own words.
Started back in high school. We both worked for the same company, McDonald's.
There's a field trip we went on to the zoo, and I thought he was so cute, and I followed him all over the zoo. He's like the calm to my storm. He's so reserved. I'm crazy and chaotic all the time. I liked it because when I hung out with him, I could actually just relax.
She knows exactly what she wants to do, so that kind of attracted me.
I was at work, and I was serving a table, and the table was constantly flirting with me. I informed them, like, hey, like, tone it down a little bit. I have a boyfriend. Like, this is inappropriate. And so I flashed them my phone screen, and it was a picture of Ra'Montae and I. And the first thing that they picked up on was that I'm dating someone of a different race. And so it just escalated from there. They started calling me derogatory names, calling him derogatory, horrible, horrible names that I would never say out loud. And then I was so angry about it that I came home and blogged. I wrote about how I was shocked that here it is 2015 and this is such a big issue that we're letting it divide us. Oh my gosh, it just took off. I had over 150,000 shares just the first day.
First feeling was like just in awe that it actually happened, and sad that I was at work at the time because I couldn't do anything to help her out. But then once the blog went viral, I was like, oh, wow, okay. My girlfriend, she has good writing skills, and she can definitely write, I guess. But I was definitely happy with her and glad she stood up for me.
I think media has so much to do with it because Ferguson had just happened and there's all the riots still going on and all these incidents. And so I think since I spoke from the heart, it was so relatable to so many people because it's what they wanted to say, but they didn't know how to say it.
And a lot of people are going through it as we are too.
Yeah. We had been on, by that point we had been on the news and in newspapers, so it was starting to pick up more media coverage. I came across this website that was racist. Somebody had shared my blog on this racist website. It was a white supremacist website. It was mostly a lot of Bible verses and say that somehow we were going against the Bible. And then there's also people on the white supremacist site saying that I was like disappointing my parents and my ancestors that came over here for ruining my whiteness, or claims that I was creating white genocide by dating someone outside of my race. Just completely preposterous things. There was a murder in Mississippi of a white girl who was dating a black guy, and this was last year, and it was an unsolved murder. And someone emailed me saying the link to the YouTube news file that broadcasted this girl's murder, and they asked me if I wanted to be next. And that's why I was like, okay, this isn't fun and games anymore. I'm kind of over it, so.
Hey,
she says love on me.
To me, it kind of hurt my soul to actually think that somebody would want to do that to us just because we're in a relationship. There's a little bit of fear, yes, in her really, but not in me as more as her.
Go. Okay. We're gonna have to redo that. He slept on the couch. We had the couch up against that wall, and he slept with a bat right next to him, and I have a picture of it. And I thought it was really sweet, but it just like proves like how scared I was, because I didn't know. After somebody had put my address online, anything's possible at that point. Everybody knows where we are at. Our life will never be the same. I feel like
we don't need any trouble. We're just doing this because we love each other, and I'm just happy everything went smoothly.
Well, for more on this, I can turn to my guest, lecturer and specialist of American civilization, Mabula Somohoro, who joins me in the studio. Hello, thank you for being with us on
Thank you for the invitation.
Is there any sign that the US is catching up with the times on these issues?
There might be signs. We have seen the symbolism of Barack Obama's election back in 2008. There has been the creation of a black bourgeoisie in the United States. There have been some positive effects in affirmative action, for instance, in the creation of this middle class, even though we know that the people who benefited the most from affirmative action were white women. So there are signs, but of course, this history of racism in the United States is a long history, and it goes back to the arrival of Europeans in this part of the Americas in the early 17th century. So it's going to take some time and action to fight this social, economic, and political evil.
But society, that's right, can't be expected to become tolerant if a country or even a state's laws enshrines discrimination in the political and social fabric. Is racism still institutionalized in the US?
It is not directly institutionalized, as most of the laws have been struck down by the federal government in the 1950s and the 1960s. But the laws will not change a state of mind or a social organization or way to, perceive what is constructed as the other. So it is a long battle. Education is important. Equality is important. It's all about sharing equally resources and access to the same privileges for everyone. So it's a collective action. It's a global phenomenon that needs to be fought globally.
And what makes the US's situation on this specific?
The U.S. is specific because the state has clearly sponsored this racism. This racism in the history of the United States of America has been organized by both the federal government and the state's government, each state's governments. So that's the specificity. That's also the presence of these African Americans or other minorities on, U.S. ground, when other countries such as France, for instance, have been able not to be better in terms of racism, but at least to get rid of those issues as the overseas departments were not within metropolitan France.
Now, over the last year or so, we've seen cases of sometimes lethal discrimination in the spotlight. Is that a sign that things are actually worsening, or rather that people are speaking out and finally being heard?
No, I think that people are speaking out more because the story we have just seen is not new. There is a history of lynching in the United States. Interracial couples were targeted. There were threats in the late 19th century, early 20th century. Most of the people who really paid the price for those interracial relationships involving black men and white women were the black men. They were the ones who were lynched. The white women could be threatened, but they were less killed than the white men. And we're not even mentioning the black women who could be involved in relationships, who could be raped, and who were simply not recognized as victims. So this is a long story. Right now, I think it's about the digital age and the role of social media or the role of alternative sources of news that makes it more audible for America and the rest of the world. But these issues are very ancient.
That's right, because Ashlyn mentioned the role of the media in this as well, didn't she?
Yes, her blog, this woman's blog went viral, and her story found echoes in a lot of other people's lives. So that's what helped. It's really about the visibility and the credibility also given to those stories, and who gets the right to publicize those stories, who gets the right to share those stories, and are we going to feel pity for this young, poor white woman and who's very vulnerable? But what about the people of color who have been stigmatized, killed, discriminated against for centuries, and can they have a voice?
And you mentioned Barack Obama. Have his 2 mandates done much to improve the situation, do you think?
I don't think one man can change the history of a nation. I think that the election of Barack Obama back in 2008 carries a very symbolic weight. And I think that in terms of the collective psyche and the collective imagination, yes, the face of America has been that of Barack Obama's for the last 8 years. But I think that racism should be approached and understood as a global phenomenon, as I said earlier. And I think that the lot of African Americans in terms of access to health, education, poverty, and all those social evils have not improved since the election of Barack Obama.
And there's also perhaps a sign of a backlash with the drawing popularity of Donald Trump.
I think, yes, backlashes have, happened all throughout the, U.S. history. So every time there's progress, there is this backlash going on. So we'll see if what America turns out to be with the next presidential election. Will it be the first election of a woman? Will it be somebody who is understood as a socialist? Or will it be back to Donald Trump and the worst kind of conservatism that America has known?
Mawula Soumahoro, thank you very much for having spoken to us. Thank you.
Thank you.